All right, welcome everybody. So this is Akhlez first. Thank you so much to Sandy Batesh and opening up her home. And it should only be great things. It should be for the success of the Yedid family, the Batesh family, everyone. So be Divrei Torah to everybody listening on Zoom. We thank everybody. So what's the purpose of this class? So it's preparing everybody for vacation. It's vacation in Halakha. So we have only 5 classes in the series. If we need more, I told them I would add a few more. But we are going to have to start, like anybody who's my student, we start with the sources and we really try to, build our knowledge so that we can be independent students, but also while knowing that we always have to ask the rabbi for, for guidance and for, different things that we may need. And especially with vacationing, there are a lot of things that, people, really our community is beautiful, how they try to travel, what they do set up with traveling, but we still have a lot to make sure and be careful of when we're traveling. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to talk about what type of food you need to have when you're traveling. So again, first we always have to talk about lecha tehila. Lecha tehila means our best option, proper instruction in the tehila, right? How should we start our planning of the vacation? And really, we should start planning around the food. Food is our number one priority. Food is, because it's daily life. How many of our religious, rituals circulate around food? Shabbat is focusing on food. Even, God forbid, lo alenu, let's say a person is an avel, it's focused on certain types of foods, how to start the process. Holidays, from matzah to bread and the sukkah, it's just everywhere. So the same thing with our vacations, we have to understand. So we have to have a commitment at first to say, I'm going to be eating kosher on my vacation. It shouldn't be the ideal. Let's talk about the ideal first. The ideal is we shouldn't really be compromising. We should be going to places that either have good hechsherim, certified kosher food that you can get. We should be bringing, let's say sometimes you're going to an exotic place, you're going to a place where there's not so, you're not sure about the kashrut, or I'm not going to be able to get something, or like there's no good restaurants. You're going to be bringing suitcases of your own food that from Brooklyn, from the stores. There's so many services. We'll give a shameless plug, Prep by Ray T. Go use them. They also can satisfy all your vacation needs. But how many butchers and places that we have in the community, so beautiful that they'll pack it for you. They'll send it ahead of time for you. There's really no excuse for not having 100% certified kosher food on your vacation. That's really what we should be striving for. Is it a lot of work? Yes. Is it a lot of money sometimes? Yes. Is it a big hassle? Yes. So, me, when I go on like vacation, like I'm always like, okay, should I buy the extra, Disney pass so that my kids get on quicker? Like, you want to spend that extra money. So just like you're willing to spend the extra money for like an extra night out or for an extra fun thing to do with the kids, you always have to put this at the top of your list as well, that you should, that you should really spend for the kosher food. Now, we're going to be talking about, let's just say on the off chance that that's not the type of program that the person is on, even though I'm going on record saying that's what we should all be doing. It's really what we should all be doing. There's ways to do it, and you don't want to compromise. But let's say a person finds themselves in a unique situation where they have to compromise, or there are certain areas where they have to get creative, we'll call it. What can we and what can't we do? And I think that the biggest point is that we have to understand, what are the transgressions? I like transgressions instead of sins. Sin is very Christian word. No, transgressions. You're violating the halakha when you travel. When a person, what do we risk? So the first thing that I wanted to do is just go through foods. And then after we go through foods, we'll go through just like top, what custom that a lot of people do. We're bringing our own food, but let's say we need to heat it up in the hotel oven, etc. So we need to do a little bit about that. And then and then we can build. Let's start with the first question. Question?
No, you done.
Yeah, you sure? Okay. So, which topic do you is it on a food or it's on, let's say, like the using ovens and stuff?
Oh, I have a question about the oven.
All of it. Okay, so let's go first with Sandy. Okay.
So at home, if the oven is meat or dairy, I have a problem. I have to push the oven before.
So good. So very good. So my brother just gave a good class about this, Rabbi David Tawil. Again, good plug. And I think my brother was correct in how he framed it from Holiday Yosef's perspective. Holiday Yosef is very strict with saying, let's say I cooked mini pizzas Thursday night, right? So really that should be a no-no if you have to cook for Shabbat afterwards open, because you got to wait 20. When we have one oven, Holiday Yosef is clear that he wants in the first place to wait 24 hours and also do what's called hasaka. Hasaka is a burnout where you burn out the oven for 20 minutes. He says shlish sha'ah. If you look in Yabia Omer, Halakha of Yored De'ah, Siman Zayin, that's the source where you look for where the rabbi talks about what's called ze'ah. Ze'ah is steam that comes from something. Now we have a lot to rely on. Even Holiday Yosef himself comes and says that those who have the custom to be mekel, lenient, and especially when you're cooking dry things that don't like really produce a lot of steam, right? Which also could be, let's say, mini pizzas. Even though it has a little bit of cheese, it's dry. It's not something that's liquidy. We have a lot of different reasons why you can be lenient as long as you burn out the oven. So, meaning what you would need to do is that, let's say you cook pizzas open in the oven. Now you want to take them out, and now you want to cook something else, meat that's open, not closed. Closed, for sure, you have what to rely on. But no matter what, because Holiday Yosef definitely wants you to wait the 24 hours, I always recommend whenever you're transitioning from dairy to meat and it's within the 24 hours, you must do the burnouts, meaning leave the oven on, high temperature, not a self-clean, let's say highest temperature, like pump it up, and then 20 minutes. 20 minutes from when it gets to that highest temperature, like you might be, that's it. Now what are the reasons why? So let's say number one, what does Holiday Yosef say? He says, since there are a lot of different reasons. Number one, our ovens have vents. It's not like, meaning the ventilation of our oven, right? So that it has like a fan inside, it's taking out all of the steam as it's almost being produced. So that's number one. Number two is if the oven is closed, our ovens are closed, and they're also like it's intense heat, it's also incinerating and burning that steam that's coming up from the pizzas, or let's say from the dairy or from the meat. In our example, we'll say dairy first. It's helping that also. Also, our ovens are clean. We're cleaning our ovens, almost all the time. Like, whenever the person, as long as your oven is clean, and you don't have, let's say, like splatters, like, everywhere, and you're taking good care of your oven, that's also another thing. And plus having the burnout, plus putting in dairy and then meat, plus especially if one of them is closed, you have plenty. He said, even Holiday Yosef in that Tishu B'Av, he recommends to be strict and wait 24 hours and do a burnout if it's not possible and a person can't really plan around it so easily. So then you're allowed, yesh hamal lismoch, to, let's say, just do the burnout for 20 minutes and then you'll be good. That's in your own kosher oven at home. Yes, sorry, Michelle.
Burnout is only if one of the things is open.
Correct. If both things were closed, if both items were closed, you could go one after the other. But if any one of them is open, we like to mistama. If one is open, if at least one of them were closed, it should also be good.
Right.
You understand? So just again, sometimes people don't close it so tightly. I'm not so.
You can't
I
have
always
dairy close at the same time.
correct. No,
Yeah.
no. Even closed at the same time, we don't do it. Yes, sorry.
Right, no, but I'm saying the one right after the other, even if it's close, if I just made a big ziti.
If you did a big ZD covered and then you take that out and then you're gonna do something else covered, so we're good.
Good?
So in that place you would be good.
Even when I
So
wrap,
now even when you wrap, so if the person is wrapped, I always recommend to just do the burnout to stay on the safe side. But technically, the only reason why you would do that is what are we worried about? We're worried about steam from the item getting through. So if it's covered, there's no problem with steam. We for sure, that's where when we'll talk about this later on, that's where we talk about the double covering. Right over here, like also if you do two coverings, so two coverings for sure, That's even in, let's say, an oven that you're not sure about the kashrut status of it, because then it's being protected
Does it matter?
in two ways. So again, we'll get to double covering when we get to like the later class, but now
So you're talking about
That's the
like if
point.
you went away and you went to a hotel and you want to give them your food.
I want to give you my food to heat up. So we need, yes, but we need double covering in that case, because we're extra strict with the ze'ah, and again, we try to say, oh, leave the, you try to hint him, leave the oven running from like a half hour before, I need it preheated. You understand? Like you always try to tell yourself, because we're going to get into how to kosher everything once you get to the hotel, and the oven, that's going to be how to kosher.
But if you're in your house and you double wrap that.
Yeah, but so no, most people don't double wrap the ziti. So saying if you're doing wrap the ziti, take it out, wrap something with meat, mistama, everything should be okay. As I said in the beginning, I always just recommend the burnout to get into the habit, because people they forget, you never know. Always when you transit, and obviously the chatahila, the best way, like Yosef says, is try to plan it out that you're waiting the 24 hours. Okay. One of the sneef is, let's say, like a branch that we also use that I mentioned, like why we're lenient, like why is Rabbi Tawil being more lenient? Let's say, like Hamad Yosef says at the end of Tishba, if you have the custom to be lenient with ze'az, also based on the Ramah, and the Rosh also says this as well, many other sources, that sometimes just overnight and not 24 hours is also enough. So let's say that's another sneak. We say really we want 24 hours from time to time, but if you for sure at least did the overnight, then many poskim, Rashi brings it down to say that it's okay. So let's say, for example, this happens in my house like every week. The kids want mini pizzas, let's say for Friday, or let's say you're making the mini pizzas Thursday night, then you have to cook Friday morning. So as long as it was overnight. So again, what would you do? You're going, I'm doing open, the case is open mini pizzas. Now I have to cook open chicken.
Right.
So we always try to say, wait at least the night. If you koshering the oven, like I just said, then that's fine, right? Well, how do you do that? Do the burnout, high temperature, at least for a shlish of the sha'ah, and at least 20 minutes. And then you can put the meat in right after. If you can wait the 24 hours, right, and plan it out so that you're only doing parv on Thursday night, that's obviously the best. And then do a little bit of a burnout right before you do a preheat before you on a high temperature. That's like the easy way how to do it. That's the best level. If a person can't do that, then we said you can do dairy and then back to back, then the meat, do the burnout, but it's especially easy to be matir that if you wait just overnight. So if you're cooking in the morning, for sure you can rely on that. Most poskim would say that. That's almost like waiting the 20.
Like I could have the mindset on Thursday night. I just had many pizzas open, and tomorrow morning I know I'm making chicken open, but I'm
with a
not.
burnout, yes, that's what we say. Holiday Yosef would want you to really do it full 24 hours, but even Holiday Yosef says, I'm just being careful to be honest with the language, is that yes, that could be your practice if you want to be Mekil, and it's difficult for you to do it any other way. So then yes, you waited overnight, you're waking up in the morning, you did the burnout also. And then you could do it open meat. 20 minutes, but wait till it gets to the high temperature at 20 minutes.
Or just to reach it and then.
Reach it and then 20 minutes from when it reaches.
So if it gets to the 500, then.
Get to the 500 and then,
20
yeah.
minutes.
And usually what people are doing is, let's say they were already, I usually get the question from they just cooked the mini pizzas and then like an hour later, they want to start doing their Friday night meal.
Right.
So the mini pizzas are already at 350. So take the mini pizzas out, pump it up to 500. It usually takes another, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Then wait the 20 minutes, and then you can put the open meat right in. Okay, so that's again, yesh hamal lismoch to be mekel. If you're stuck, if it's a tough time, sometimes, again, I have very picky children. The younger kids are like, they eat like ketchup and fries. Like that's all they eat. So if that's all my wife can make, then she's not eating anything parv, and I'm not going to say force you, take out Uber Eats, like forcing me to spend $50. I'll let you do the burnout. You understand? To make sure that the kids get their dairy food. To make everybody happy, especially right now. If you could easily plan around it, or let's say on Wednesday cook extra, and then leave it for the full 24 hours, and then start cooking on Thursday night. Let's say ideally what Holiday said would want you to do is, let's say, plan out your week where, let's say, Wednesday night is mini pizza night, 24 hours of the oven, and Thursday night I want to start cooking, especially now the Shabbat is early, so they want to start cooking Thursday night. So try to do the 24 hours with the preheat, with the burnout right before you start. That's Holiday is very strict. We want to do that, but he's also in that teshuvah that I quoted again. Yabia Omer Halakha Siman Zayin in Yoreh De'ah. He says, "Benahagula hakel yesham al lismoch." If a person wants to be lenient and just do the 20-minute burnout, even an hour late, like right after, you have what to rely on.
Yeah, that's not sometimes just you have one oven and you just can't.
No, sometimes you just can't. So again, if there's any hard, 100%. So that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people find that if it's going to cause any hardship, you do it that way. But make sure you do the burnout. Make sure that your oven, if you know that that's what you're going to do, make sure your oven is cleaned often. We want to try to do all of the branches, the snifim. So yeah, that we have an oven that we cook on it closed. Check. We have vents in our oven. Check. Our oven is clean. Check. At least maybe you could say wait the night time, right? Wait the hours of the night, right? Let's say, and then always do the burnout. Okay, so good. Sandy, did that answer your oven question?
Yeah.
Good. So that's going to connect back to, let's say, using an oven, let's say on vacation. Later, when we have to either say how to kosher the oven that was used, which we'll get to, and let's say then giving your now double wrapped, right? Especially when it comes to a foreign oven, I'm not sure, a double wrapped food to heat it up. Yes, sorry, Michelle.
No, just wanna check if there's no difference between meat and then dairy, same thing.
Same thing. Meaning if you first did open meat and then need to do open dairy, it's the same law.
And so you take that thing, pump it up, you wait your 20 minutes, like you do
Once
right
it gets to that, you can do it right away. Again, but again, I like to say if you're stuck, you understand, like I'm saying, meaning if you could plan it, that's the best thing. But like many women are saying, sometimes it just doesn't allow. Sometimes it just doesn't allow. Sometimes like the girl's working, she realized that that's what she has. It's all she has to eat. Well, that's what the family's relying on, and now she has to go back to back.
And could you have food? I know it sounds crazy, but could you have food in the oven on 500 while you're koshering it?
So you should.
Parv?
You should. If it's parv, then yeah, but parv and covered, I would allow it to do that. But that's a good question.
On 500 and it's covered and it's carved.
Right.
So could that be my?
So yeah, but we don't want it while it's in a dairy oven. You know what I'm saying? Now let's say you cook the mini pizzas. Now the oven is dairy.
Right.
So you have to really make sure that it's covered before you do the kosher. You know, if you're going to serve that on Shabbat.
Oh, so now
you're going to have to be careful. So again, we're going to talk about it. That's much easier since it's a parv item when we talk about the concept of nat bar nat, nitinatam, which is also going to be, it's much easier with a parv item. Okay. But definitely to be sure, again, it's very tough when you tell somebody covered, like everyone's definition of covered is fully covered. You have to see like, so you're like, look, I covered it. It's like resting on the top.
Right.
You know, some people are really rough. It's like, this is like the product of being a rabbi and fielding all this. Like, I don't understand. I told the person to do this and they totally messed it up. How? So like, sometimes you have to adjust how you frame it based on like the interpretation. But I would first do the kosher and then put the parv.
So we didn't get the parv yet, right?
We didn't get the parv. We're doing meat, then dairy.
No, like
the more important thing.
If the oven was dairy and I need parv cookies, now I can't eat those parv cookies on Friday night.
So again, no, for Sfaradim, like we say, unless if you're confident, right, that it wasn't in there at the same, as long as it wasn't in there at the same time, so then for sure, with Sfaradim, you can now serve it. It's the same way as, let's say, pasta. Now we're getting off track. What I'm saying, well, let's say I cook my pasta in a dairy pot. So now technically go for Sfaradim only, right? What we could do, we could take out those noodles and serve it with meat sauce. Yeah. No, with meat sauce even on top. Right. So that's the same concept from Cholin, right? Dagim shalu b'ke'ara. That's the case. Let's say they have fish that was taken. First of all, there's a lot of interpretations. There's the Rashi, there's the Rivan. What does that mean? Dagim shalu b'ke'ara. Does that mean that they were just housed in that dagim of fish that were in the alu b'ke'ara in a platter? So what does that mean? Cooked in the platter, or they were cooked elsewhere and they were just resting there? So the post can go back and forth. It's very clear from the Rambam, and even the way that it's not so clear from Rashi as they say the Ivan. which was his son-in-law, said that, no, that's not what Rashi meant, that he said that you can cook it. But the maskana is, I can cook dagim, I could cook fish in the example in the Gemara is in a meat pot. Not that there's meat in the pot, but it's a meat flavored pot. Then take those fish out and actually put cheese sauce on it. That's kutah. Dagim shalom kehara, right? So you're allowed to cook it you're allowed to eat it together, put it on top with kutah. Kutah is like a cheese sauce. Why? Because it's two exchanges of taste. Exchange number one was, how did this pot become meat? How did the pot become meat, guys? So it became meat because I originally, let's say, put a steak or I put kibbeh balls in it. And when I cooked it, the meat taste from the kibbeh balls went right into what? Right into the pot. Now that's called netinat ta'am, one exchange of taste. Now, something that we'll circle back to is the problem that many people make, and this is on vacation as well, is that they don't understand that we hold by the principle of ta'am ke'ikar. What does ta'am ke'ikar mean? Ta'am ke'ikar means taste is like the actual item. So we're very strict on actual taste. So meaning, I'll just say something like that. That's usually what do people do. They say, oh, Rabbi, no, when I go to Spumoni Gardens, I know the guy, he makes sure to put my pizza in the oven that has no meat in it. So I don't know how you're relying on that guy. That's A. But right, B, if he ever did put it in, ta'am is ke'ikar. The actual taste is like having the actual pepperoni on it. The taste from the pepperoni is like having the pepperoni. So if he put a pizza that had pepperoni in the oven, right, took it out, and then put your pizza in, it's almost like eating out meat. People think they're eating out dairy. They're eating out meat. If there's chicken stock in the sauce, which this is what I wanted to write in the sauce, again, prep by Reti, shout out to Reti. When he went to culinary school, Johnson in Wales, they tell you that people, places like the Olive Garden, let's just throw it out there, I don't know, Route 35, right? Wherever people go, maybe, that, like, no, all I did was have the breadsticks. All I did was have the dipping sauce. One of the ingredients that could be, not saying for sure, but again, that could be, is that they put either lard or chicken stock in their sauces to make it. So chicken stock is meat. You're eating out. You're eating out meat. If there was crab, hot crab, that was put in those porcelain dishes. Now the guy thinks he's going there just to have. All I'm having is pasta and butter. And I know the butter is kosher or whatever, and it's hot or whatever. Now the guy, it's like he's eating. The ta'am is ke'ikad. The taste that was emitted there from the last, they didn't kosher their, no offense to Olive Garden, they didn't kosher their dishes. Right, Spumoni Gardens didn't do that. Vic's didn't do that. Well, name the place. These are like from my age, right? Right.
Ice cream in it with some.
So excellent question. If it's if it's even straight, if it's a porcelain dish, it could be. It's ra'ula hachmir because it's constantly emitting, even in, let's say, cold. There are many poskim that say cold. If it's cold on cold, like especially with your metal spoon, and let's say you have a glass dish for sure. But some poskim do say to be strict even with porcelain.
Saying like when you go to a hotel, let's say
let's say they have a cereal bar, like kosher cereal bar, and there's no reason for you to think that anything is in it, and they're using no matter what dish, you could have cold and cold and cold. It could be okay, but everything has to be certified kosher. Yeah, so one of the things we'll get to. So that'll be, but everything has, like, okay, fruit, now it depends which fruit, like if right next to them is the hot bacon, how do I know that they didn't use, I mean, they usually don't use the knife, but you're gonna have to ask some questions. But let's just backtrack. I'm trying to say, that's the point, Sandy, what he's saying, that the ta'am, the taste, is a problem. So now what about two exchanges of taste? Now we're only talking about kosher items. Okay, Viran, Rabbeinu Nisim, he highlights to us that when we have to be very careful when we're talking about giving over taste. We're only this that we're about to talk about, like what you were saying, Sandy, let's say being able to have something parv right after, let's say we're talking about not now the noodles, that's only with kosher products. Because what we're going to say in kosher products and for Sfaradim is that not barnat, two exchanges of taste can be done lechatechila in the first place. So let's stick with our noodle case. I cooked the noodles in the meat pot. Now I took, again, the pot was cleaned. There's no actual bits of, right? You cooked kibbeh peas in your kibbeh mushroom in that pot. You took out the kibbeh peas, cleaned out the pot. Now, even a few hours later, right? We don't have to wait 24 hours. A few hours later, what happens? The guy says, okay, what time is it now? I want to cook my noodles. He takes parv noodles, puts it in that pot. That's exchange number 2, because what happened? The kibbeh goes in, the kibbeh taste, the meat taste goes into the pot. If I lick that pot, am I going to taste meat? No, but our rabbis gave us the tradition. There's meat taste inside that with the walls of that pot. That's called netinat tam. That's the exchange of taste from the meat to the walls of the pot. Now I put the noodles in. Now I cook the noodles in that pot. So what do we say? Now the meat taste that's locked in the walls of the pot goes into what? The noodles. That's exchange number 2. Is there anything wrong with having meat flavored noodles? No, I can have meat, just regular noodles, right? Yeah. Meaning I can't put cheese in that pot because at the second exchange, it would already be asur. As long as at the second exchange, the food is mutad at that point, then you take that food out and you could put cheese on it. So parv noodles that are cooked in a meat pot, you can take them out of the pot and now serve them with dairy, eat dairy with it.
That's why I don't need hard pots.
Right, very good. Yes, that's
You don't need hard pots.
You know, but if that meat pot was used to make the kibbeh on at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, now I cleaned it out. Doesn't matter.
It's
Doesn't matter, right after.
There's no that 24 hours.
So that 24 hours is really only for, that's called natlap, noten tam lifgam, negative taste. And that's really only used when, let's say, we make a mistake with meat and dairy. What's the phone call that I get? Rabbi, you're not going to believe it. I just cooked my spanech. It's not, that's a bad example because that's with glass. I just cooked my mini pizzas, right? In a, let's say like a French onion soup in a pot that you really use for kibbeh. So what do I do? So now the rabbi has to discern, do you have to throw out the food? Because he went meat to dairy.
So
And I said it's meat to dairy, not parv.
the meat pot
Meat.
was used at like 1 o'clock to make a meat thing.
Right.
Dairy in
Yeah.
that pot.
2 o'clock,
You put dairy in it, dairy.
a milk item, yeah.
So then that's the worst possible thing ever. That's the food you'd have to throw out because you didn't wait, like you said, because you didn't wait the 24 hours. But that's because it's meat and then dairy.
Okay.
Sandy's question is different. It's meat then parv.
Okay.
You understand? So it's a different thing. So meat then dairy, if it's within 24 hours, pot needs to be koshered. And generally speaking, usually because usually you'll fill up the pots. There's a way for it to be batel b'shishim, but it's very complicated. But like it could be nullified at 60, but once it's within 24 hours, and then the food you have to throw out.
So 1 o'clock, you're making a meat sauce in that.
Good. Now I take the meat sauce out, clean the pot. Now I put plain noodles,
Okay.
put the plain noodles in, take them out. Now you parv item. Now you took them out. Now what's the status of those noodles?
What are they?
So now they're saying they're not meat. They're still for Sephardim. They're still parv. For Ashkenazim, they're meat. So that's why you see when you go to all these restaurants, let's say like when they get the hashgacha from the Ashkenazim, and even sometimes some rabbis that are like say strict, they're saying, look, we're following the Ramah with the nat barnat, and it's only a b'diavad. It's not, can't do that on purpose. I'm telling Sandy she can do that on purpose. We do that on purpose. You can say, women are very like this, which I love. You ever have like a favorite pot? Like I love this pot. Cooks perfect. You do?
Yes.
Yes, right. Certain pot makes it. This pot is wow, amazing. So now you have it to use it for something beforehand, right? Like I always look at my wife, like I want to use this pot. I'm like, why? I'm staring at a cabinet of 600 pots. Well, why can't you? Oh, I gotta use this pot. This is my pot. Like this is.
It makes it good.
It makes it good, right? So this is the pot. So you, in that case, let's say, but I used the pot before for a different meat item. Now I want to cook it for parv. Is it going to make it meat? So it doesn't. For Sephardim, it doesn't. That's called nat barnat. So we always
24 hours, but it seems like nothing has this 24 hours.
no. So we're waiting. So the oven does because same oven, because again, it's not the same pot, it's the same airspace, which is different. We wait 24 hours to do that. We wait 24 hours from on Pesach, let's say the last kosher time you used chametz, to do the koshering, which you don't even have to really do, but let's say it's a definite. Excuse me. Definitely have to do that if, a lot of people wait till the last minute to kosher. They kosher like hours before the holiday.
Also, if you're traveling and you get somewhere and you only have
Exactly. So you're always
hours.
waiting. So you're always waiting 24 hours in those cases. Okay. Again, 24 hours ends up saving you. Let's say, right, Rochelle, this was your case, right? The 24 hours ends up saving you. Let's say you took a pot, you made French onion soup in the pot. Now all of a sudden you realize, Uli, I made it in a meat pot. But I haven't used this pot. The guy came up for the weekend to deal. And now he takes a pot. And he's like, whatever. Now the wife comes screaming in, what did you do? Those are the meat pots. The guy forgot. It's been a month. It's been 2 months since the last. Has not been used. So the food is kosher in that case. But the pot needs to be kosher. Because again, you wait the 24 hours waited. So always in those cases, the pot always needs to be koshered. The spoon, or they call it, Rabbi, I by mistake, I took a dairy spoon and I mixed the kibbeh with it. So what do you do? So now I have to know if that was the same spoon that you just used to mix calzones, and that's why it was on the kitchen table. We have a much bigger problem. You have to talk how much dairy went into the spoon, how much are you mixing now? If it's not batel, you'd have to throw everything out. Usually, right, but if the spoon was in the drawer, whatever, the person, she picked up any random spoon and she started to stir. So you have to, don't throw the spoon. Everyone's like answers, they throw the spoon out. You don't have to throw the spoon out. You could do hagalah. You have to kosher it, but the food is still kosher because the spoon that you used. I have no idea. So stam kinli, man, I'm ben yomo. I have no idea. I just took a random spoon. I don't know if this is the spoon I used last for dairy. So in that case, you could just say, okay, our general thought process is this was used more than 24 hours ago. Food is good, but you'll always have to kosher the spoon.
Ceramic, the white ceramic, can we put roast on it?
Throw that out.
Yeah.
There's no way to kosher it. You have to throw it out.
The white ceramic.
Yeah, when it's ceramic.
Put roast on it. Hot roast.
Oh, but if it was only for parv, then now you could just make it meat.
Yeah.
If it was dairy,
It was for
No
parv.
hot
It was
ever
parv.
right? So now it became a meat thing.
So I cannot put.
Dairy, you can't put mini pieces on it. Dairy cookies.
A parv
Can I
cookie.
use?
Put a parv cookie
Can
on
I
there.
use?
Yeah, parv cookie you can.
Yeah.
Parv
Can I
cookie you
use
can.
cookies on it?
Parv cookie you can. Dairy
Parv.
cookie, some rabbis are strict on that.
if
Even the
it's not
parv.
hot, even
If it's not hot,
It's
so
not
then look,
hot.
well,
That's what it is.
there's what to rely on, but we should.
Yes, you can put a parv cookie on there.
Parv cookie for sure you can put. Parv fruit, parv, whatever. Use it. Always switch it to parv. Don't because if you play around with the dairy,
No, I wouldn't.
I'm saying, but even if it gets washed in that, it could be an issue. Ceramic we don't play around with it because it's constantly constantly polit.
Even China is the same.
China is the same. China and ceramic, same clay, all those things. The Mikasa dish, right? Is that the brand?
Yeah,
The
Mikasa.
Mikasa, right?
Yeah.
Those dishes, all those things. Even though they said that now it's glazed with glass, we don't say it's so thin, it's negligible. And if it was glass, then you'd have to dip them in mikveh. So we put them as China, but then it's like when the housekeeper will say makes a mistake with that, you have to throw it out.
Yeah.
She they always say, oh, you only eat my food, only eat my food. So she did meat. She took lahmacun out to heat herself up and she put on the dairy ceramic plate. Done. Michelle, we're at your
No,
question.
I'm not there yet. So I don't remember.
Oh, you're not
I
there.
have 1,000 questions built and I try to hold them back.
When I get there, I'll ask.
All right, but I'm just trying to say that. So let's go all the way back. What were we trying to say? We were trying to say that this is why you have to have kosher food, meaning the ta'am, everyone thinks that they're gonna go, oh, I'm just gonna go to the restaurant on the cruise. I'm just gonna go. Look at how many problems you have. Ta'am ke ikar. The taste is like ikar. Okay, so we spent that time. Okay, in your own house, it's like all okay, cute noodles in a dairy pot, fine. But now we're talking about vacation. Oh, let's go back to that. So the Ran says all of this, right? We have to be careful, right? All of this exchanging, right? Of let's say, two exchanges that only applies to kosher food. Non-kosher, so you can't say, oh, Rabbi, non-kosher food also. So, when Vinny had his pepperoni pizza, that's one exchange. And then and then the Vanessa, I don't know why I'm on letter V, but like whatever. Let's say Vanessa could be a Jewish name. I teach Vanessa, right? But let's say, right, you have this girl that comes in, right, and now she then had her breadsticks. That's the second exchange. So my pizza is the third exchange. With unkosher food, you could have a million exchanges. It's still as if it's there for the first time. Because we don't play around with the non-kosher taste is already prohibited. So that goes even in 1,000 exchanges. So a person who's eating using the the bowls that are provided, they say, Rabbi, I'm just eating I'm eating plain noodles for the kids heated up on the cruise. But they're using this, and it comes in the ceramic dish. So there's taste. There's taste that's transferring. If they ever had anything hot that was not kosher in that bowl, who's going to vouch for that?
Can't vouch for anything.
Can't vouch for that. For sure, but I'm trying to say how serious. Sometimes people, they wake up when you say, it's like you're eating meat out. Like, no, what are you talking about? It's pasta. People made their own hierarchy outside of halakha of what they think is worse and better.
Yeah.
So they made up their own rule. They said, eating meat out is worse than this. Who says that? Every bug you eat is 6 sins. So
What about
salad? Could be worse.
Yeah, salad could be worse than eating it. Guys, if it's infested, it's worse than a piece of steak.
Yeah.
Depending on which part of it. Like if it's the chayla, I don't think it would be that. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A lot of people say, no, what you think these places don't clean their lettuce or they're not serving bugs.
So when we get back to that, but since you asked the question, we'll say that's only a Jew is trusted to check for the bugs from the halakha. Same thing with, let's say, not the same, but let's say in concept of saying, like, why can't the non-Jew cook the food? So we have a concept of bishul goyim, right, which we stay away from.
Yeah.
So we have the same thing. Also, there's very little that you have to do with vegetables. Just have to have a Jew.
So it doesn't matter if it's the cleanest.
Doesn't mean it's the cleanest place. They have to have a Jew be the person to clean it. So that's why let's say an all vegan place. Rabbi, there's no fish, there's no fish, there's no meat, there's no egg, nothing. So I say, yeah, you're right. You can have things from there, but you can't have things that need to be checked.
Oh, so that's not so hard.
That is very hard. What do you mean? I can't have a salad there. I can't have kale. I can't have the romaine.
But you could have bread and avocado.
So it depends. Again, look, when we talk about the bread, you have to make sure. No, but there's nothing. It's vegan. So it's saying, it's right, Ezekiel bread. So the question is that, but bread will be. We can do a whole thing on the vegan place. Rabbi Luf is very clear about that if a person is stuck, or that's the only place that they could eat at, or let's say the rabbi, that's the only place that's within a vicinity of 50 blocks that I could eat at. And men ask me that if the men are traveling, go to 100% vegan place, and you can get only those things. You get a potato soup,
So things that don't
have to be checked. But that is a problem. There's a lot of things. Yeah, because again, to the shul goyim, there's anything that's edible raw. It's not a problem. So most of those vegan places, most of the things are vegetables. They're edible raw. So no problem with the non-Jew cooking it. And the second thing is if it's oleh al shulchan melachi. So that depends. Is it something that you would serve to a king? I don't know any kings that are vegan.
Like what is on a table?
So that is a very subjective thing. So we'd have to talk about certain things. Maybe if they have let's say they have like an Impossible Burger at a vegan place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would go with that. Maybe that does go on a shulchan melachim, and you'd have to ask them, could I put it on the fire, or could I, have somebody? I always tell them, go to the certified place. So that's why I would have, let's say, a soup, or let's say Something like that.
And then you wouldn't have soup.
An all vegan place, the soup that doesn't have ingredients that need to be checked. So let's say like a potato soup or something like that. Lentils could be a problem. Right? The lentils are,
Clear broth soup.
but lentils are not necessarily for right. Clear broth soup would be
So soup, the check
miso
lentils.
soup I got mixed up on Pesach you do.
Yeah, but
Like you'll
not-
notice lentils, they're infested with, let's say, with wheat, like they're contaminated, not infested.
But
it's the wrong
Passover, we
word.
have to check the grain.
Passover, you have to check every letter. We don't do lentils. Like I got my brother Raymond says, don't use them. Like when he makes his burgers, like for the Pesach, they don't use lentils.
But we're allowed to, we just have to check them.
Yeah, but it's very
They're very
difficult.
hard.
So we try to stay away.
Rice.
Rice is not lentils though.
Right.
I don't think anybody has a jedra on Pesach.
Oh,
They do.
That's
So you gotta just make sure the
Check it really
lentils are
good.
checked really well. Really well.
looking for like little grains. in them.
Yeah, you're looking for wheat. You'll notice it's
So
much
like the
different,
rice, we check.
just like the rice for Pesach, we would check. Yeah.
Wait, if you go to a vegan restaurant, you could have a piece of whole wheat toasted avocado and it's fine.
So again, the question is, does that go on the king's table?
Right.
But bread is not. It's pot. It's we eat that as long as we can know that the ingredients are kosher, and most likely it is because it's vegan. There's nothing in it. What could you? There's no lard. There's
Yeah,
no
nothing
anything.
in it. No, I just.
Yeah, people who don't
want
want to. No, certified vegan in a place where, let's say, a person really needs to. That's the only place that they could go, or that's the story. You have on what to rely.
Oh, only if you're stuck, but you can't.
That's
say,
the
when I'm
exact
on
thing.
vacation, I'm gonna go to that. vegan
Again, I
place.
can't stop a person from doing that. It's hard to point to what they would be doing wrong. It's more of how much you trust that it's for sure vegan. Here, if they say vegan and it's not vegan, you can get into very big trouble. So we would say that we do rely on that in that case. The way that I always heard it from Rabbi Aluf was really it's for a person is stuck, there's no other place to eat. This is the way that there's going to be a tremendous, it's an hour traveling back and forth to get to something else. This is so convenient. It's just for the office, regular vegan place. No things that don't need to be checked. Mutar.
What if,
So that's what I tell.
Could they bring, like, let's say I'm on vacation and in the restaurant, I say, could you just bring me like romaine lettuce, but like the whole week? And I look like,
And then you check it.
and then just look at
Yeah,
it.
fine.
And I'm like, you know, these really want lettuce and like.
Hi, can I buy a head of lettuce? So yeah,
Because you're not cleaning it, but,
you gotta then clean it.
oh, you have to clean it.
Yeah, what do you mean?
No, like, let's say they clean the lettuce and then you look for the bugs.
Yeah,
It's
also, but
the
then,
bugs.
but then you should also then rinse it
Rinse
to
off.
make sure. Once you do, yeah, if you want to then you want to do the light box, hold it up to the light and check it. Yes, the Jew. Hi, can I have a head of lettuce to check? I'm saying the invitation. I'm gassed. Like that's. Yeah, now your mind's working Syrian style. Yeah. How do I get it? Took a little bit of time. So again, yes, the vegan. That's the least of your worries. Understand? Certified vegan place with nothing to check. Well, then a person could be lenient in those cases. Again, always call the rabbi, see what the story is. Again, the guy's eating in Manhattan and he wants I could give you all the 6 kosher vegan places. Why would you do that? There's really no reason.
No reason, there's so many options.
There's no reason.
But you could have bread and everything.
So again, like I'm saying, but I want to be careful. I'm not deviating from what he's saying. No, but I'm saying even the pasta, there's no eggs in it. There's no anything.
No, but.
What's the pasta made out of?
But pasta you can't eat raw, and then now just cooking it.
It could be, but what type? But is it on? Does it go on a king's table? Okay, it's vegan pasta, nasty. I'm still talking about the vegan place, right?
Yeah,
We have to be
like
done.
pasta, like butternut squash cheese sauce.
Yeah, like, what are we doing? To me, vegan places are nasty, but that's just me. I don't know. That's no, Rabbi, I love it. Get healthy. I'm out for that. Like I'm trying to say, like objectively, would a king go to a vegan place, like outside of for his health? What's 00? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I want to ask you that 00.
I don't know what 00 is.
Because
So, it has-
it's a vegan.
so again, if it has that kashrut, I would for sure say okay.
Yeah, it's.
Again. So when I said, because again, so I was saying JSOR is much more strict with, let's say, who they'll give the kashrut to. And I said IKC, the rabbis, definitely trustworthy. One of the things that they have as a feature in their kashrut is that they will give hechsherim to people who opened on Shabbat.
Who would?
That's what I was telling you.
IKC.
Double zero is probably
So I'm trying to say, so opening on Shabbat, now you have to do more research and you have to say, what's the partnership? Does a goy do? So that's why it's a follow-up. So that's why not just anybody who has it, you have to make sure if the place. I've learned to ask that. Even IKC website has a lot of support for how they open it on Shabbat, how they do it. A lot of people don't hold by that. So you have to ask your rabbi, is this something that I would do? So even me personally, when I say, look, for me, I want to make sure that it's not if it's not Jewish owned on Shabbat, that's a huge problem.
Right.
So that's something that people don't think about. Like, again, let's take an easy one. So let's say Dunkin' Donuts. So what do you mean?
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts is kosher Dunkin' Donuts open on Shabbat, but it's not Jewish owned.
So
This is a Jewish owned place that's open on Shabbat. How do we get around it? So I'm sure the Jew is not working there, but what's the partnership arrangement? How do they? You have to be sure. You have to be sure the Jew's not working.
So
There are
for
rules.
IKC, that means that they.
I'm not sure. I'm not going to talk about recording specific places. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. We'll have to. You have to go and you have to look.
Right.
You have to call the owner. You have to call the manager. They'll usually give
it's
you.
not so much of a
By
question.
90% of the time, I've found it to be good. But I always have to ask. You have to know the right questions to ask with them. We're saying most of those vegan places with like a wild ginger, these places or whatever, they have a hechsher. They have a hechsher for the vegan place, so it's great. But you have to make sure that. And I don't remember each specific place. I'm a very big Brooklyn dweller, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure they call most of those famous places that people have asked me. We've called up. We've asked. No, I have a partnership. I have the shtar. I have the agreement. The rabbi set it up. Some people don't want that at all. They're strict. You have to ask your family rabbi. Some people say, "No, I don't let you eat there." So that's why I do believe that JSOR probably has a higher standard with those places. So you have to fight. If I'm only following JSOR, so then that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
That's why. Look, it's a shame that there are different levels, but it's a reality. There's different hechsherim. There's different. Let's get to everybody having the hechsher, and I'll be very, let's, we want to try to save people from not, eating kosher at all, which is very hard.
I wanted to ask you about sushi because that's a major one. I'm saying people eat.
It's a very big issue. So
there's nothing in sushi, and you're saying it's raw.
there's a ton of things. So that just like we'll close with this, right? Right. But we'll say sushi is a huge problem. So again, hey, what do you have to be able to identify when it comes to kosher fish? What do you have to do? Again, a Jew must identify that this fish was kosher with the skin on. You have to see the fins and you have to see the scales. You have to see it, and it has to be a Jew.
Okay.
So right off the bat, any fish they're saying, Rabbi, it's tuna. Who said?
Yeah, but salmon's very obvious. No?
So many people want to try to say, okay, but it's obvious. Not so obvious. I have no, all the different types of fish there are that they could be substituting. I have no idea. So yes, there is a doubt that says, okay, if there's no other fish that are ever like this, and it's very clear that this is that this is the fish, you have on what to rely. But again, that's a very big problem. How do I know that what I'm eating is yellowtail? How do I know that what I'm eating is this? How do I know?
If you go to the back.
So again, but look already what you're doing. Saying, go to the back, let me see the fish. Now watch them cut it. Now what's the knife now? Let's say they're eating at a non-kosher place. They have regular crab. They don't have imitation crab. And they're using a hot knife to cut through it with the rice. So a hot knife with crab. Now they're using it with it's tam. It's like you're eating crab. They have squid items. They have the real sashimi, the real nigiri. All those things they have squid, poke bowls. They have all things that are not kosher.
But if your fish that they're cutting is cold.
So what would you have? Okay, so but I'm trying to say, so look, theoretically,
No, not for me.
if you went and looked and saw the fish, and then they used a new knife that they never used before, stood and you watched them go like this already, why am I there? They're not doing that. They're opening up the menu and they're saying, here, give me a salmon, cooked salmon avocado.
I'm thinking I'm on vacation, I'm far, that's what I'm thinking. Not asking feel like I'm going to the city. I'm asking if I'm.
I understand, but now you're at a non-kosher sushi place. It's like having non-kosher meat behind the counter. It's all hot. They're cooking their stuff. Then they have wasabi. Let's say now they're cutting the ginger. They're cutting the wasabi. These are things that heat up the knife. Those are. We didn't even get to that. I'm talking about davar harif. Right now, you have a different garlic knife. You have it's sharp. So all those things are sharp. Wasabi is probably the sharpest thing. So now, what do you mean? Okay, no, what do you mean? He's cutting He cut wasabi and then he cut crab right after that. So it's rough.
Even if you're not having fish, even if you're just having avocado.
I'm having edamame there, but how do I know where it was heated up? I have no idea. It's behind it. I don't know. No, they have a separate edamame thing. So fine, then they serve it to you on a porcelain thing. And how do I know that there wasn't crab on that from before? How do I know there wasn't any unkosher fish on there from before? And the porcelain is constantly giving forth. It's impossible. If you're really following the halakha, it's impossible to vouch for what's going on over there.
My God.
Could you theoretically do what you're saying, Sandy? I guess so. But at that, who's really doing that?
So how do people eat fish?
They
wrapped
don't
in
care.
foil?
They're not caring as much. What do you
No,
mean?
no, not sushi. But how do people eat fish wrapped in foil? Way.
What do you mean?
You double wrap
Vacation,
it.
they tell the- you
So
tell
I'm
them-
taking my fish. So what am I thinking? I'm taking my fish.
Oh, their fish.
Their fish, not
Their
yours.
fish.
But you're seeing a bronzino. You're seeing a whole bronzino. Again, I don't know how they're doing it. Meaning, how could you do it? Let me see the bronzino in the tank that any Jew could do. Okay, take it out here, double wrap, grill, bring it to my room, and I use my own utensils.
You have to see the whole
You have to see
process.
I have to see the whole process. What's going on? I could see them wrap it and put it in. You know what I'm saying? But I have to, for the fish, yeah. Or once you put it in the oven, it's easier than you turning on the oven. Yeah, you can put it in. Sparadim, it's easy. The easiest thing is bring your own stuff and then double wrap and put it in. But look how many pitfalls there are. It's very difficult. A lot of people think they're doing are they lowering the isur? That's playing with fire. Rabbis tell us don't measure this. At least it's not that. At least not that. Still eating unkosher. He's still violating the halakha.
You can't go and get cucumber avocado roll from it.
Again, I don't know what's going on back there. Technically, I have to see them wash it, look at it.
I'm working with like a place.
What about the hot rice? What about the hot rice that's there? The rice is cooked.
Sometimes they have,
Is it a separate steamer?
yeah, the rice is.
Oh, I don't know. Is there a separate steamer?
No, I heard they do. They put the rice is made in the.
No,
same
so
way.
I'm saying with the knife that the guy is using. So
The knife
she's saying no. I want a cucumber avocado roll. Okay, so now she's taking the knife that was previously the guy cut the crab roll on, and that's cutting her roll. Tom, keikad, with a knife, the hakat the sakina. It's a very huge problem.
So you can't even eat in a not like just cut plain peppers. Can't.
It's
Then you even cut
tough.
chili pepper.
Yeah. How in a place that sells hot meat and hot dairy? Yeah, how's that happening?
Can't.
How's that happening? I mean, look, probably. Right? I mean, look, you're playing the percentages, maybe, but how could I vouch 100%? Not at all.
I have one more question.
Yeah, sure. I know.
On a vacation, people put those brick ovens and they would make their own pizza. You remember we saw that?
Okay,
That's not,
but the brick oven was used previously.
yeah, they used it in the hotel.
Yeah.
The flames are going and people say, oh.
I'll just put my own kosher pizza in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if there's that's the same thing. If there's meat, that one after the other,
Meat time and-
it's fire. Is it automatically incinerated? I don't know.
And it could be hot enough to burn it, but you just.
Not right away. You need to
Wait.
at least wait. Yeah, clean it out. Take out the coals. What are we doing? And people just take half of what they want.
Yeah.
All right, we will continue again next week.